following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Sling'n Proffet podcast. As always, I am Andrew Daly, your host of Sling'n Proffet, joined by my co-host, Mr. Proffet himself. Mr. Proffet, big week, busy week, a lot to talk about here football-wise in the world of sports. I would be remiss if we didn't open the show 23 years ago on this day. Our lives as Americans changed forever. We vow never to forget 9/11, and I want to turn it over to you right now as we open the show, because I know that you, like many Americans, this is a very emotional day for you, and you have a lot to say about it. So I want to turn the mic over to you. Welcome to the show. Glad to be with you, but you got the floor now, Proffet.
Hello, everyone. And a little change, from the norm this evening. Normally, I like to start out with one of my dad jokes, get, Sling all worked up early on. But, on this day, I'm going to be serious, okay? Like Sling said, we can never forget what happened 23 years ago. Living in New Jersey at the time, we weren't that far away from Ground Zero and all the places, actually, Pennsylvania and Washington, D.C. And, getting ready for work. And Mrs. Proffet said, well, a plane just flew into the towers, and then I guess from that point on, I, like most people, we're glued to our TV sets for, days on end. And I was fortunate enough my niece, it was a nurse at the time, and they needed medical help up there. And me and my niece went up there. I was fortunate enough to spend some time up at Ground Zero helping, for lack of better words, find the body parts and, doing different things. It was such a tough time in my life, but it was such a great time in my life too. Something that, I would never trade. That being said, we can't forget. We always have to keep our eyes open, and, you see something, say something.
Sure. And, as long as we're alive, Proffet, we will never forget. Obviously I appreciate what you do, what you did, what you and Donna did that day. I didn't fully, understand the magnitude of it when I was 13 years old, but as I gotten older, I understand the magnitude of it more. And you still have, the memories and the not only the memories, the physical, I guess, I'm not sure what to call it, but keepsake. You see there, that's the hard hat that Proffet received from Ground Zero that they gave him when he volunteered. Obviously, it wasn't painted like that. That was something that I added on later in life as a gift to him. But you got the American Eagle there on the side, and you got the Twin Towers there, and we will never forget. And again, a solemn day in American history, but it's a day for remembrance, and we will always do that. But we are moving forward. We have a lot to talk about tonight, Proffet, because,
Big show.
As always, the show goes on. We're going to talk about week one that was in NFL football, which I don't know about you, but I didn't particularly – there was a whole lot of buildup, right? There was a whole lot of hype surrounding a lot of these games, and not a lot of these games lived up to their potential. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show as we get into our weekly roundup and stuff like that. But it was kind of a little bit of a letdown. We'll talk about that later. You got anything going on this week? Anything you want to touch on, or what's going on in the world of the Proffet or the Proffeteers?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Football this week, okay? Hopefully better than last, okay? But football this week. Oh, yeah, I do. I go tomorrow to let the doc look at my crotch again to tell me whether or not, whether I'm good or, hopefully everything's good there. But
John H. says that he was up at Ground Zero 2 for 3 days as a chaplain. God bless you, brother. John is one of my assistant coaches, and I'm glad to have him on staff for many reasons, but obviously that's one of the main reasons as a a man, great man to have on staff, great man to have as an advisor to me, and just a voice in my ear and there to pick me up when things are down. And, sometimes I got to pick him up too. Hey, it's not so bad. We'll get through it together. But John, always appreciate you checking in. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I wasn't too thrilled with the slate of games this week or this past week. I actually went, I'll be honest with you. I went grocery shopping during the 4:00 games. I had to get up out of the chair. I said, I can't, there's nothing right now keeping me entertained, so to speak. I had the Red Zone channel on. I was getting crushed in all 3 of my fantasy leagues. Well, who did I play in our fantasy league, in the family league? Was it you, Prophet?
If you look over my left shoulder, you're
pointing the wrong shoulder.
The right shoulder, and you played the guy that's got that big old trophy back there. And okay, blind squirrels do find acorns from time to time.
Listen, I snuck out a 1-point victory over the Prophet. I also got smoked in my other 2 leagues by coworkers and by friends alike. So it was a bad weekend for me overall, but we got a lot to talk about. Great show. Go ahead.
Before we move on, okay, because you touched on it, I thought we'd touch on it later in the show, but I disagree with what you said as far as the build up and the hype to this past week, man, was astronomical. I thought there were a ton of great games on the slate.
I did too. I said there were great games on the slate. I said I don't think they lived up to it.
No, you went grocery shopping, okay, during the 4:00 games. Well, guess what? And I hate to. Well, no, I don't hate to admit it. I mean, I was bored. I was bored to hell watching the games. The start of the 4:00 games, I was up here playing Red Dead Redemption. I mean, I had lost all interest in the game. It was like, really, what the heck's going on here, man? There were a couple of games that that were good start to finish, and the rest of them were putting me to sleep. I mean, It might have something to do with the fact that I ate about 3 pounds of cheese before the game started too, but
it's probably not good for your doctor's visit tomorrow there, Prophet.
Yeah, this is true.
Anyway, we'll dive into it here. You might notice our new intro with our new Belly Up network that we're on and airing live on, or I don't know, I'm not sure if we're live, but they'll be pushing it out. Got our little Belly Up logo there in the bottom too. Excited to be part of that team. I know that they're excited to have us, and we're looking forward to the partnership with them to be fruitful for both of us. So we're looking forward to that, and we're excited to be part of the Belly Up Sports Network. I do have to make that logo a little bit bigger because I can't really see it when I'm on this screen here. But we're going to dive into our as always, our first segment, what's happening. Let's touch on some news throughout the sports world this week. The first thing that I want to talk about is the one game. Listen, now, I wasn't captivated by many NFL games this week, but I was captivated by this game on Saturday night. Now, I had made my broadcasting debut. I called the Westchester University game on Saturday afternoon. It was kind of a heartbreaking loss. Westchester wound up losing on a game-winning field goal that spoiled the Golden Rams opening game. But I was able to get home in time and finally got paid a little bit after a long summer of not getting paid, because teachers apparently don't get paid during the summer, but that's besides the point. So I said to my wife, I said, hey, we got a little bit of money. Let's go out. Let's watch some games. We'll go to Buffalo Wild Wings, man. Buffalo Wild Wings. I don't know if you've ever been there, but they got like a million TVs. They got a nice bar. It's expensive as all hell for whatever reason. I don't know why friggin' chicken nuggets, boneless buffalo wings cost so damn much, but they do. But it was a nice night. We got to go out. We got to have some drinks. We had dinner. We got to sit at the bar. We watched 80 different games on TV, but the one that kept my attention was this NIU Notre Dame game, man, and it was captivating. NIU came into the game as 28.5-point underdogs, and they wound up beating Notre Dame on a last second field goal. It wasn't a game-winning field goal, so to speak. They still had to come back and play defense because of a phantom non-first down call. And I don't know if you watched the game, Prophet, or not, but
I didn't catch it. No.
Yeah, well, they got NIU was driving, in the fourth quarter with about a minute left, and they went forward on like 4th and 2, and the running back got stopped, but he's clearly over the line, and they mark him short, and they go to review it, and even on the review, you could see that this running back, the ball, his knee touches the ground, and the ball is over the first down where it needed to be for the first down, and the ref still came out and said, calls confirmed, 4th down. It was 3rd down. It brought up 4th down because they had to kick the field goal. And I'm saying to myself, I said, if NIU loses this game because of this bad call that got reviewed and they still got it wrong, I said, this has got Vegas written all over it. All right. So NIU goes out, they nail the field goal. They go up by 2 points. And I'm still in the back of my mind. I said, there's about 35 seconds left. Notre Dame's out of timeouts. I said something fluky could happen here where Notre Dame could throw a couple quick passes down the field and get themselves in the field goal range and win the game by 1 point. That didn't happen. But if it did happen, I was definitely going back and going to question the validity of that game because, like I said, it was a blatantly obvious call that the refs got wrong. All that to say, NIU beats Notre Dame. Notre Dame was ranked number 5 in the country. Marcus Freeman, this is not his first big loss against lower ranked teams. I would have to think that, like, if you're a Notre Dame faithful, do you have confidence in this guy? And is he on the hot seat? And I would think that he would be because of the losses that he's taken. I was looking at it before, and I can't quite remember off the top of my head some of the bad losses that he's had to unranked opponents. But there's been, I would say, more than 3 or 4. At a school like Notre Dame that hasn't been in the national championship picture in quite some time, that's where they're supposed to be. And that's where they want to be. And a loss to NIU, good for NIU. They're 2-0 now. It was great. The head coach gave a great, passionate post-game speech, brought them to tears. It was awesome to watch. But something's got to change at Notre Dame, and I don't know if it starts at the top, and I don't know where the confidence is with Marcus Freeman. Do you know? Yeah, you got any input on that one?
Well, the major thing I have to input, okay, is it's kind of ironic because growing up, in all the jobs I had a lot of managerial positions, and my nickname was Mike the Axe because if you didn't do the job, you were gone. I didn't wait around 3, 6, 8, 10 months for it. You couldn't do the job, I let you go, no matter what I was doing. And it seems like every week we is the coach in trouble segment here. So it seems like you're taking over that nickname, the Axe.
Listen. I still haven't gotten over being fired as an 11-year-old kid, Mike the Axe. It scarred me for life. So maybe it did carry with me for all of eternity here. But when I'm 11 years old and I'm getting thrown off a freaking roof and hit on the head with a hammer on a roof, yeah, I guess Mike the Axe left a little mark on my body. So maybe I am a little tough on these guys. But listen, I know Notre Dame doesn't want to be in this situation. Marcus Freeman was good.
Coming off they were coming off a big win again the previous week against Texas A&M. So could they be ripe for a letdown? Yeah, they could, but
not a 28 letdown.
A letdown is, winning by a touchdown that should have been against his team, not losing the game outright. And everything I read, I haven't paid a lot of attention to Notre Dame yet this year, okay? But their offense goes as their running game goes. And, looking at the stories about this game, they kind of got away from the running game. And they were never really – the game was never in question until the final seconds. They were always in the game or leading for the better part of it, actually. And yet they got away from their running game. Why?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but like I said, huge win for the NIU program. Terrible loss for the Notre Dame program. We'll see. We'll have to watch. Keep our eye on it and watch how we bounce back because we did talk about them last week, and BP talked about them last week about being national contenders. I don't see that. Who knows? It's early. We'll see. We're moving on. Puka Nacua injured again, headed to the IR. Not sure the severity of the injury. I know he's on my fantasy team. Of course, he's on my fantasy team. he didn't. He had a designation going into this game, Prophet. He didn't seem right from. If you watch the game, he didn't seem right from the opening snap. He wasn't crisp on his routes. He did. I just didn't think that he looked good. And he took a big shot there during the game, and you could just kind of tell that something was off, and it turns out to be true. He's headed to the IR. Who knows how long he's going to be out? At least 4 weeks now, right? But,
they're saying 4 to 6 at this point.
Yeah. Do you know the exact injury or no?
No. I thought I saw a sprained PCL, but I could be mistaken.
I'm not sure, but I just feel like that this guy. They knew he was injured going into it. He never really looked like himself. And now, he suffered a setback, and now he's going to be out for a while. And, a lot of people's early round pick at wide receiver here in the fantasy, it's going to have huge fantasy implications. And I know, you talk about somebody's health and fantasy football, you never want to relate it to, but that's what we talk about on this show. And there's heavy fantasy implications, and there's heavy implications, just from the Rams standpoint. I mean, I looked at it today. You turn around and look at it. Cooper Kupp had 21 targets in this game.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
It'll be interesting to see how the Rams navigate Nakua being out. Cooper Kupp, Dave checking in. Cooper Kupp definitely has some good value now. Again, he had 14 catches on 21 targets. So good to see him back in the mix after a little quieter year, I guess, last year. I guess you can say
that was Puka's fault.
Yeah. Moving on, continuing with the injury bug. Jordan Love, if you didn't see on Friday night, I'm sure you've seen by now. Jordan Love was injured. Timetable unknown. The question is, who replaces him? Now, listen, the injury looked bad. I thought it was an ACL right off the bat. Thank God it wasn't. For Jordan Love's sake, they're saying sprained MCL. Speaking from experience, I mean, that could be a 3 to 6 week deal. All right. Could be 2, could be less, depending on, what kind of treatment you're getting and stuff like that. But this is a huge loss for the Packers, because his backup quarterback right now is Malik Willis, right?
And that's who's starting.
I mean, you talk about a guy who was just traded for a 7th round pick. We just talked about it on the show a couple weeks ago.
And I said Tennessee got a steal with that deal, getting a 7th round pick. And looky here. Yeah, a couple of weeks later, he's going to be the starting quarterback for them. Yeah, so Green Bay actually got the steal now.
Sure, but it's not the situation, obviously, that Green Bay wants to be in.
For sure.
Hopefully Jordan Love can make a quick recovery and get back out there. But that injury, it just did not look good from.
No, for sure. I thought he tore too. And the good thing is that they didn't put him on the IR, so they're expecting him back. Although they're saying 4 to 6 weeks, they're expecting him back possibly in 3. So,
sure.
If they had IR'd him, he would have been out for 4 weeks. So they think he's going to be back before that. I mean, it maybe one of the problems that made that game such a sloppy game, the field conditions,
the turf conditions. We talk about
that might have helped. That might have saved them. Maybe
I don't know. He got stood up, and it looked like he got rolled up on by a nasty defensive lineman from the Eagles. Go figure. Eagles playing dirty on somebody. Who would have thought that? But that was it looked like a dirty hit. Or the guy knew what he was doing, rolling into his legs like that. But that whole friggin' situation, that game was a mess. The turf, you talk about safety of city. That's one thing. Safety of playing conditions that you can absolutely control as the NFL. That's a whole nother thing, man. That turf was not ready for an NFL game. All right, it's ready for soccer, and it's a whole different type of grass. If you don't know. But that turf, that field was not ready for NFL play, and you see it all too often on these international games. Is they just don't understand the physicality that happens on this field and the amount of force that's actually given off by these running backs and these receivers and offensive linemen, and a lot of times the grass can't hold up to it, and you saw it all over the game. Guys slipping all over the place. It was dangerous. It was dumb. the players weren't happy about it, and quite frankly, I think they got every reason to complain about that.
Well, it's a third stadium now. I mean, England constantly, the grass is terrible there when they play there. Last year they played in Germany. The field was terrible. This year they're playing in Brazil. The field's terrible. Okay. If you're going to take your product overseas, make it so the people don't have to worry, the players don't have to worry about getting injured because the field conditions suck. I mean, if you have a downpour, for a day and a half prior to the game, there's nothing you can do about that. But they didn't have it. Brazil, the weather was beautiful. I checked it. The field sucked. And I'm surprised that this was the only major injury that came out of that game.
We're moving on here. Jim Harbaugh. I know you're a huge Jim Harbaugh fan. Jim Harbaugh wins his debut in the NFL. Well, it's like grand reopening, not a grand opening, but a grand reopening.
Deja vu all over again.
Well, he got the hell out of college before the sling the axe came down on him in college. So Harbaugh and the Chargers beat the Raiders 22-10. My boy Gardner didn't have a great game. All right, I don't want to talk about it. Well, we'll talk about it maybe later. I don't want to talk about it, but Jim Harbaugh wins his debut. You think this is one of many for the Chargers, or you think flash in the pan here?
I think his streak could end this week.
You got a quick one then, one and done. All right. Well, I don't see.
Good for him. Good for the Chargers. I mean, the Chargers look bad. They just played an even worse Raiders team.
Again, this was one of the games that was putting me to sleep, to be honest with you. So I had to get out there and buy my groceries. Anyway, talking about sleepers, Dak Prescott becomes the highest paid NFL player ever, followed by ... What the hell? How do you explain this contract, Prophet? I'm not even going to talk. I want you to. How do you explain this contract? How do you explain making Dak Prescott the highest paid player in NFL history?
Okay, this is what they're doing. Okay, I took some time to put this together, so I'm going to put it out there. I didn't know that this was going to be one of the segments but I'm going to use it now. Okay, first and second year quarterbacks this past week. Okay, went 122 for 206, 1,144 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 7 picks. Okay. These are first and second year players. Now you say, oh, well, yeah, okay, they're young. Okay. What about the veterans? Well, the top 11 paid quarterbacks, okay, who let me add before I start. 17-23 combined playoff record, 0 Super Bowls for the top 11 paid quarterbacks in the league right now. Okay. Their stats: 218 for 358, 23-46, 12 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The 5 and 6 this week were the top paid quarterbacks. And 3 of the games, 6 of the guys played against each other. So there had to be a winner. Okay. What are they doing here? Feeding,
Dude, my mind is running right now. I'm sure that was a little tough to follow for me.
They keep on feeding these guys money, and they're not producing. When does it end? Okay. Well, then the argument is, well, the defenses are better. Well, then how come the defenses aren't getting paid that kind of money? I mean, the receivers are getting paid that kind of money now. Come on.
To read this comment, Dave says Daniel Jones has more pick sixes than passing touchdowns since his new contract. I saw that stat the other day. He's got more touchdowns to a different team than his own team, which is pretty crazy. Now,
I mean, what Dak Prescott is 2-5 in the playoffs.
Right. Hey. I got some stats too here, Prophet. Don't be stealing my thunder. Dak Prescott signs this.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
$60 million a year. The first ever $60 million a year man. Okay. Dak Prescott has been to the playoffs 5 times. Okay. in 5 playoff appearances, he hasn't gotten out of the divisional round. He is 2-5 in the playoffs. Now, they've had some very successful teams that you could argue these guys are going to make a deep run into the playoffs, possibly a championship game or Super Bowl. And he hasn't gotten it done, and he hasn't looked good. It's not in spite of Dak. He just hasn't gotten it done. He hasn't played well. Listen, he's a very above average quarterback, I would say. He's good. He's good. He's a good quarterback. He is, I don't know what kind of king's ransom he got to become the highest paid player in the NFL history. But, like, dude, pay the guys who deserve it.
You know what's crazy, okay, Sling, is that I gave out numbers on the top 11 paid quarterbacks. You know who's not on that list?
Who?
3-time Super Bowl champion Patrick Mahomes, possibly the first quarterback to ever three-peat this year. He's not even in the top 12 quarterbacks paid.
What?
I mean,
he just signed a new contract a couple years ago.
Per year, he is not one of the top quarterbacks in the league per money. I mean, it's amazing.
That's crazy.
He's probably going to go down. I mean, if he stays healthy, he could go down as the greatest quarterback of all time. And
it's gonna be close if he continues on the trend that he's on. But it's funny you mentioned Patrick Mahomes, because I want to talk about something that's been pressing on my mind, Prophet, and it involves Patrick Mahomes. All right.
No.
Yeah. Taylor Swift and Brittany Mahomes were beefing at the U.S. Open. All right. Patrick Mahomes was there with Brittany, his wife. They were trying to have a good time at the U.S. Open. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift were at the U.S. Open. Travis is wearing some weird hat. Okay. And they're all dancing and having a good time. But Taylor and Brittany didn't even say a word to each other, it looked like. And I don't know what the heck's going on. Maybe it's their political views getting in the way of each other, because Brittany just went on a huge rant about supporting Trump and Taylor supports Kamala, whatever. Tomato. But listen, these guys need to get along. If the NFL is going to be successful, we need these guys to have a strong relationship. Wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you agree?
No, absolutely not. We need Brittany Mahomes and Taylor Swift to sit in their boxes and keep their mouths shut. That's what we need. We got too damn much politics in football as it is right now. And then you get these two. They're not even players. And we're talking about them feuding.
They're influencers, Prophet. They're influencers.
Yeah, you know what? They are influencers, and they should influence their freaking concert goers or their dress buyers or whatever the hell Brittany Mahomes does.
I'm not sure what she does.
They shouldn't be putting their political views out into my arena, the football field. Stay the hell away. Keep your mouth shut.
Larry said that they hugged it out there, though. So, Larry, way to ruin my idea of a good time, because I wanted to think that they were fighting. I wanted to see Brittany Mahomes versus Taylor Swift steel cage match.
Yeah,
all right?
They'd probably end up in glow and freaking, be in one of them bikini matches or something.
Oh, God, here we go. Cage. We're moving on. We're moving on to our weekly pool. Yeah, relax. We're moving on to our weekly pool here, sponsored by Advanced Sports. Run your pool. There's still time to get in, all right? You miss 1 week, it's not the end of the world, all right? Because there's going to be people in here that probably miss a week here or there. Larry, the other Larry checks in. He says, once again, y'all dive into this Swiftie controversy. Letters will be coming your way, Prophet. Sounds like you're about to be served here. So
yeah,
we're talking about our Advanced Sports weekly pick'em pool. I don't see my name here on this leaderboard anywhere. I don't know if I had a good week, but I will say at the top of the list is my wife, Laura, who went 15-1. All right. There was a couple people checking in here, 14-2, but my wife went 15-1. Okay. which is pretty damn impressive. But it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. And we're going to talk about it a little bit later. But since the inception of the sponsored game of the week, when we used to do Lucy's in Idaho, shout out to Lucy's, hope you guys are doing well. We've never had a person guess the correct score and correct winner of the game of the week segment. But yet, in week 1, we had somebody win the Jug Handle In Game of the Week segment by guessing the correct winner and correct score. And guess who that was? My wife. So Laura's having a big week here with the gambling. I don't know. Maybe she should get her own DraftKings account or something and start playing some picks here because she's been on a roll. She won her fantasy matchup. She won the weekly sports pick'em pool, and she won the gift certificate from the Jug Handle In. Keep going, babe. Show them how it's done. Show me how it's done because I ain't anywhere near that leaderboard. But that was a pretty cool thing to wake up to and check the leaderboard and see Laura at the top of the list. So keep going. Good job, Laura. Again, the Run Your Pool link is all over our social media. Go out there and join. It's not too late. All right. If you're already in it, don't forget to get your picks in. Week 2 starts tomorrow night. Don't forget to get your picks in and let's have some fun with this Run Your Pool. And maybe we'll be talking about you up here on the leaderboard next week. Who knows?
Good job, Laura. And you know what? Maybe you could just take him off to the side and say, hey, play this team this week or play that team, because he's a mess when it comes to the gambling. So.
Well, maybe you guys should all just mind your damn business, all right?
Well, you bring it out into the public eye.
Don't be talking over my music. That's right, baby. You hear it. It is time for the weekly Roundup segment, the fastest 17 minutes in football. Well, if Proffet has anything to say about it, it'll be friggin' 17 minutes. If I have anything to say about it, it'll be 6 minutes. We're talking about the weekly Roundup where we dissect all of the big games from the previous week. First game up, we're kind of going in order here, right? We'll go to the Thursday night game first, and we'll round that up. The Chiefs kick off the season with a win over the Ravens by a score of 27-20. What a big matchup here to get the season kicked off. Laura picks the correct winner and the correct score. Mahomes goes 20-28 for 291. Pacheco does a little damage, gets in the end zone there, and a touchdown out of rookie Xavier Worthy. Now, Lamar runs for 122 yards, throws for 273. Had a nice little night. Proffet, what'd you think about this game? Did it live up to your hype? Were you surprised at how it went down or what?
Man, after watching this game, I was ecstatic. I put it out there. If this weekend is going to be, if the season is going to be like this game, we're in for a great season because it was a really good game. Mahomes looked in midseason form. Lamar Jackson, he just kept on giving fuel to the critics. What they bash him for, he did over and over again this past week. But my take coming out of it is Baltimore's O-line is not real good, and Derrick Henry, who?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, 13 rushes for 46 yards. I think you said that though, Proffet, when I mentioned his signing earlier in the year. Henry's days might be behind him.
They are,
so,
and he's not going to go there and carry the ball 30 times. I mean, that takes away 20 carries from Lamar Jackson. So,
yep.
Lamar missing open receivers. That last touchdown at the end of the game, I mean, he didn't have to throw that ball so high. If he hits likely in the chest, it's a different outcome to the game possibly because they were going for 2. He puts that ball high up in the air and Bolton's able to hit him just enough coming down to push him out of bounds.
Absolutely, yeah. And like you said, it started off hot, man. It was a great Thursday night game. It was a nice taste for the weekend. Hey, let's go into Friday night and let's get ready for the Eagles and Packers live from Brazil. And listen, this game didn't disappoint. All right, this game was a high-scoring affair. The New York Giants, have got to be absolutely kicking themselves for letting go of Saquon Barkley. Now, I don't know if they didn't know how to use him, if they didn't know how to put him in the right spots, but Saquon Barkley absolutely went off in the receiving game, in the rushing game, for the tune of 3 touchdowns. He rushed for over 100 yards. Hurts, now, you talk about Hurts. Hurts didn't do it for me. So, first drive of the game, he throws a terrible interception. He throws 2 picks on the night. Now you said it earlier you said it a couple weeks ago. Which Jalen Hurts are we going to get? Okay. I didn't really love what I saw out of him, but they did enough to get the job done. Again, Jordan Love gets hurt in this one. Not, sloppy field conditions, but it was an exciting game nonetheless. It was an entertaining game, and we had 2 good games that kick off Thursday and Friday night. What'd you think about this one, Prophet?
No, from a scoring standpoint, final score and all, it was an exciting game, but it was a pretty sloppy game. I mean, Hurts wasn't at his best, or maybe he was. Jordan Love certainly didn't look comfortable the whole night. I mean, I was a little, watching him throw, like, I think he's got to learn when to touch the ball and when to fire the ball. There were a couple, 4 or 5 that I remembered it. Man, he should have fired the ball in, and he throws touch passes and vice versa. I mean, Saquon Barkley, he's going to be a force in Philly. There's no doubt about it. The past couple of years with the Giants, I mean, how last year the Giants brought their left tackle out of retirement. They had nobody to block for them. Their O-line has been so bad for a couple of years now. I think that's been one of the biggest problems with Barkley up there. Philadelphia's O-line, although he's still good, you can see that it's not the line of past years.
Losing Kelsey's big, and I'll tell you who's loving the output of Saquon Barkley is all those people that bet over 6.5 touchdowns for the year, because they're already halfway there.
Yeah.
So that, I think that was what it was at, right? 6.5, or was it 8.5 I forget, but it was
I thought it was 7.5 or 8. Yeah.
It was low, man, but knock on wood, he stays healthy, and that's looking like a pretty good bet. We're going to keep moving here to a little bit of a stinker, in my opinion. All right, we got the 49ers roll without Christian McCaffrey, which is a story in its own right, because that poor running back, man, and he went out and said, what's his name? Mason, the running back Mason, had himself a great game, man. 28 rushes, 147 yards, and a touchdown, had himself a great game. And the reporter asks him after the game, says, when did you know you were starting? Then he goes out and he says, I don't know, like Friday night. So Friday night, obviously that goes against NFL protocol of, diagnose, or what's the word I'm looking for? Declaring injury status. It was kind of a shock to everybody that McCaffrey was listed as inactive come Sunday morning. Shanahan came out after the game and said that wasn't the case. He never told him he was starting Friday night. He just told him that he was going to have a heavier workload than normal, blah, blah, blah. There's some shenanigans going on there in San Francisco. Obviously, if they knew McCaffrey was hurt and wasn't playing, it should have been designated and declared earlier than Sunday morning on the inactive report. Either way, Niners come out. They do what they got to do. Mason has a great game. They look good. Yeah, and who didn't look good was Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion. The guy's coming off an Achilles. He hasn't, like BP said last week, he hasn't played in almost 2 years now with the injury and coming off the surgery last year with the torn Achilles. I don't think he looked good. He can't move at all. So the only thing he can do is stand back there and throw the ball and get rid of it quick. He has no escapability anymore whatsoever, and I just don't think he looked great. What were your thoughts coming out of this one?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think Rodgers looked great, but considering he hadn't been on the field, for quite some time, I think he did okay. I think he's going to be fine. the bigger concern I had coming out of that game is the Jets defense. I mean, San Francisco, they're a good offensive team, but they're without their starting running back. Their number one receiver, just got back onto the field, and he played like he just got back onto the field. And yet San Francisco just marched up and down the field on that defense, which is supposed to be one of the top defenses in the league. That would be a little more concerning than Rodgers to me right now.
I would agree to that too. Don't they still have Reddick holding out too? He didn't play. I heard he was at the local high school football game because he's a South Jersey guy. I heard he was at the high school football game this week. So
yeah, he probably was.
We're moving on to the next one. The Houston Texans squeak one out against Indianapolis. What a game this was, and what a genius I look like for drafting Anthony Richardson as my quarterback at the very last pick in the Fantasy Football League draft. Anthony Richardson gets me a 38-point week, carries me to victory, although he couldn't carry his own team to victory. He certainly carried my team to victory. Thank you, Mr. Richardson, for going 9 of 19 for 212 and 2 touchdowns, but the 2 touchdowns he threw were absolute bombs. Stroud looked pretty good in this game, and Joe Mixon went off to the tune of 159 yards and on 30 carries with a touchdown. This was an exciting game. I think it lived up to the hype. I'm pulling for Houston this year. What do you got coming out of this one?
This game sucked. I mean, and not because Anthony Richardson beat me, because, in fantasy, okay. Anthony Richardson threw 3 passes that gained him 170 yards on broken plays. That Houston they better get that straightened out if they want to do anything this year, okay? And you probably have the stats up in front of you, Sling, there. What did he have for the game? 212 freaking yards.
Yeah, 212 yards. I said it in my opening if you were listening to me, but clearly you weren't.
172 yards on 3 broken plays. The guys were wide open, nobody even around them. And what was he, 9 for 19 passing? I mean, he's a great.
I said that in my opening too. So
he's a great quarterback. Yeah, okay.
I didn't say he's a great quarterback. He's got me a lot of fantasy points though, and I knew that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a guy that could friggin' throw 75 yards in the air, and you're going to get a guy that could rush for a lot of touchdowns if he stays healthy. All right, he's a good fantasy football quarterback, and he's proven that. He's improved that.
This team is in trouble.
Yeah, this team might be in trouble. Jonathan Taylor rushing for 48 yards on 16 carries. Maybe you should worry more about that.
I'm not
Dolphins come from behind. Yeah, we're moving on. We're done with it, all right? Dolphins come from behind to beat Lawrence and the Jaguars. This is the Jaguars being the Jaguars, Trevor being Trevor. Dolphins come back. They were down early in this game. They were down 17-7 at halftime. They come back and shut the Jaguars out in the second half. Now, listen, nobody really lit up the scoreboard here like you would have expected from this game, but Trevor Lawrence, 12 for 21 for 162. ETN, 12 for 44 and a touchdown. Tua had a nice little day, 23 of 37 for 338. When's Trevor Lawrence going to step up? When's Trevor Lawrence going to step up and put the team on his back and go win a football game? I don't know if I've ever met a more overhyped quarterback or overvalued quarterback than this guy. People love him, and they still love him. And they think that he's going to be the guy to carry them to the promised land. He's not. Well, what did you take from this one?
He looked like he might have been on his way in the first half, and then he became old Trevor Lawrence again in the second half. I mean, the final score, indicates, it doesn't indicate, but you could say, it was a good game. But you know what? I had this a 3-point Miami victory, but I also had it, with another 45 points in the game. I thought this was going to be a shootout, and it looked like it was going to be early on, and then boom, Trevor he went sunshine. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. And
I can't get behind this guy. I don't know what the fascination is with him. as a quarterback. But yeah, not like I said, not really. He didn't he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to sit there and trying to find the words for him because I don't want to. I'm moving on. The one thing I want to talk about is this damn game. Patriots shocked the Bengals with a 16-10 victory. Joe Burrow, 21-29 for 164, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Zach Moss, 9 for 44 with a TD. Jacoby Brissett, 15-24 for 121. Ramondre Stevenson had a nice day, 25 for 120 and a touchdown. Where the hell were the Bengals in this game? Supposed to be one of the most high-powered offenses, and Joe Burrow comes out here and drops a turd. Nowhere to be found, Bengals offense. What do you have to say about this? 70 rush yards, 224 total yards of offense. It's embarrassing to the Patriots, who you had winning 3 or 4 games.
This was a shock to a lot of people, but not myself. And if you go back and you watch last week's show when we were talking about Jacoby Brissett, when you said, nobody expects them to be 3-1, 4-1 to start the season. I said, yeah, but they're going to be 1-0 after this week.
Did you say that? I'll have to go back and listen.
Yes, I did. And yeah, Joe Burrow hasn't won an opening day game in his career, and it continued on again this week. I mean, Joe Burrow's got issues, man. We know that.
He does have issues, and I got him. I had him as my starting quarterback in my one fantasy league, and that's going to change this week. But we're pressing on here. We're getting through this. We're getting closer to your 18 minutes here than my 6 minutes. Anyway, the Lions beat the Rams in an overtime thriller. This was one of the good games of the weekend. All right, Lions came out, offensive battle here. 387 yards for the Rams, 363 yards for the Lions. Goff had himself an average day. Stafford came out and threw for over 300. The one thing that was surprising to me here, Prophet, David Montgomery, 17 for 91 and a touchdown compared to Jahmyr Gibbs, which was 11 for 40 and a touchdown. All the reports that I was hearing and reading and seeing coming into the year was that this was going to be Gibbs' backfield. And that did not prove to be the case this weekend. Is this something that we're going to see moving forward? Is this going to be the Montgomery show with a little Gibbs scattered in, or who's going to take the lead here?
Well, Gibbs had a designation this week going in too, Sling. So, we don't know. I mean, they put a Q next to his name, just like they did McCaffrey. You don't know just how hurt he is. I mean, could he have been a little bit worse than they were leading on? Maybe. I'm not sure. But that part of it, I'm not overly concerned with. I mean, the headline, overtime thriller. That game put me to sleep too. This game was terrible. I mean, if you're a Detroit Lions fan, you have really got to be worried about this team. Goff does nothing against a decent defense, home opener. The defense gives up, 450 yards of offense to a team that's got one receiver. Okay? Tyler Higbee wasn't in there. He was hurt. Puka gets hurt early in the game. They got no offensive line, and yet Stafford can pick them apart. This team's in trouble. You don't want to believe it because you like the Lions, but
listen, let's be fair, Prophet. There's a lot that puts you to sleep, okay? So it's not just this game. You probably just had a couple too many cheese and crackers, and you went to bed, okay?
Yeah, or some Willies.
Whatever. Thought you don't do Willies in the daytime.
At nighttime, it was a night game.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, that wraps it up for our first official weekly roundup segment. I couldn't think of the name for a second. I drew a blank. Weekly roundup segment of the year. That was fun, man. It was fun to have a full slate of football to talk about, not necessarily college, even though, my heart lies with college football, but my schedule only really allows me to watch the NFL anymore. Let's go in right into our games of the week for this week. And we're starting off early, man. We're starting off tomorrow night. We got a big one. We're going to see if the Bills can go down to Miami and sneak one out against the Dolphins. Listen, I don't know how to say this, but I'm not a Bills fan. I'm not a Josh Allen fan anymore. He's let me down too many times. But I think that the Dolphins came out and laid a little stinker against the Jags this week too. So it's tough to say who's going to come out on this one. Obviously, coming back on a short week, it's always tough for both of the teams. Over under set at 49. I forget. I asked you this last week, but do we give our scores for these games or just the jug game?
You didn't. You
I don't give scores
normally. Yeah.
I'm not giving scores. I'm going to say Dolphins win and they cover in this one. Let's hear what you got.
Okay. Well, what I got is in the Allen Tua era, Buffalo is 4-1 straight up against the Finns. They're also
Prophet. I'm going to cut you off here. I'm going to cut you off. Okay. Let's try and get a different microphone set up. All right. Maybe plug in a different mic. You got something handy or no? Because I don't know what the issues. It's the same thing as what happened a couple weeks ago. You start getting staticky, and change those headphones out.
Hello?
Hello?
Any better?
No, not really.
What was happening?
I'm going to take you off and then come back on, and then we're going to see if that makes any difference here. Prophet, remove you from this. We're going to talk about it. We're talking about our games of the week here. Hold on 1 second. Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's not good though, Prophet. We got to figure this thing out. Yeah, we got to figure this thing out. But let's go through the games of the week here quickly. Just give the people your winners and the scores if you got them.
Yeah, I got Buffalo 26-16.
Buffalo 26-16 from the Prophet. All right, we're moving on to the Tampa Bay game. Again, Tampa Bay's visiting Detroit, the team that we just talked about. And I know, Prophet, you weren't too high on my Buccaneers, but they went out. They had a great game last week. Baker had a nice game. Let me find that Baker that Bengals game from last week because I want to go through those stats. Where's he at? I can't find it. Of course. You probably remember that the Buccaneers were my pick for the NFC South champions. Here we go. Let's see. Schedule. Yes, sir. So they played Washington last week. All right. Granted, Washington did not look very good at all, but Baker Mayfield goes 24-30 for 289 and 4 touchdowns, looking like a damn all-pro quarterback out there. I'll tell you what, the Browns look bad for letting this guy go because they got their own stuff going on in Cleveland, and they let Baker Mayfield walk away, and he's doing what he's doing in Tampa Bay, and he's doing it really well. I think the Buccaneers go in. They're +7, over under set at 51. Buccaneers go in and they cover easily, and they could quite possibly win the game outright. Prophet, maybe something cleared up in your computer. Hopefully it did. I'm not holding out hope though. We'll see. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
It's not a matter of hearing you, Prophet. It's a matter of you sound like a Mickey Mouse.
Okay, well I'll try and change over to Goofy then. Okay. Tampa Bay they won last week convincingly, going gate to wire. Detroit needed overtime against the bad Rams team. Tampa Bay's got revenge in this one, having knocked out of the playoffs last year. I see them winning this game 31-27.
Tampa Bay's. You got Tampa Bay winning.
Tampa Bay winning.
Tampa Bay winning 31-27. This is going to be tough to get through the rest of this because it's not coming over very well. We're talking about Cincinnati visiting Kansas City. The Bengals are coming off of a dud of a game where Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense struggled to get anything going. Kansas City's coming off a big Thursday night win against a good Ravens team. Okay. Cincinnati's coming in as 6-point underdogs in this one. And I think that number is a little low because they're going to need a heck of a lot more than 6 points in order to be able to win this one. I got the Chiefs here. They win, they cover, and I don't really think this one's going to be close. Prophet, what's your score prediction?
Yeah, I got, Cincinnati has a 3-2 advantage in the Burrows Mahomes era, but Kansas City's won the last two. Cincinnati hasn't won a road opener since Burrow became the starter. And I see the trend continuing here. Kansas City, 38-20.
38-20, KC. You guys heard it from me because you didn't hear it from Prophet. So, Prophet, just give us your scores. I don't know what else to say, man. Just give us the score prediction. We're having some technical difficulties with your computer. We're moving on to our next game here, which is the Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Atlanta Falcons. Going to be a rowdy crowd in Philadelphia. It always is, especially for the home opener. You got the Falcons coming in 6.5-point underdogs in this one. Philly's coming off of a long trip, obviously, playing in Brazil. Let's see where we at. Playing in Brazil. I'm trying to find the Falcons. Oh yeah. So the Falcons took a bad loss to Pittsburgh last week, and you talk about a game that put people to sleep. That thing was sloppy. Fields went out there and didn't do a whole heck of a lot, but Atlanta put up 10 points on the Steelers. It's not a great day for them either. Vegas has got these guys, the Falcons, at 6.5-point underdogs. I think the Eagles win. I think the Eagles cover relatively easily. Prophet, would you agree or disagree?
Can you hear me any better?
Negative.
All right. Yeah. Well, let the people know that this is the third year in a row now that the Eagles are opening up against Kirk Cousins at home. They've beaten them twice over 2 years in a row now, and they're going to make it 3 this year, 34-17.
34-17. That's an interesting stat. I didn't know the Eagles opened up with Kirk Cousins 3 years in a row now at home. That's pretty wild. Two different teams or three different teams?
Two with Minnesota. And
okay. And we're moving forward to our jug handle-in game of the week. Prophet, I'm going to handle this one. All right. I want to talk about the jug handle-in game of the week here. We got the Chicago Bears, who, Larry, I don't know how you're feeling. I know you were telling me 10-7 a couple weeks ago for your Bears. They got the win, but Caleb did not look good. All right. Caleb didn't look good. I think he didn't even throw for 100 yards. So the jug handling game of the week is a Sunday night game. You got Chicago visiting Houston. Houston comes in 6.5-point favorites. Over under set at 45.5. I think Houston takes this game pretty handily after their showing this week against the Colts. Yeah, the defense definitely won that one. Jug handling game of the week, Chicago Bears against the Houston Texans. I got Houston in this one by a score of, I'm going to go 31-10. Okay, I'm going 31-10. I don't think the Bears are going to be in this game whatsoever. Prophet, give me a score prediction here for our jug handling game of the week.
Well, on paper, this looks like a blowout. Okay, my only concern is the line in this game, 6.5 points. I mean, I personally think Houston should be double-digit favorites here. That's scaring me a little, but it's still, I'm going Houston 31-13.
You got Houston 31-13. I got Houston 31-10. that'll wrap it up for our jug handling game of the week. Let's see if Laura can hit this score on the head again. Exactly.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, that would be pretty wild. That's going to wrap it up for our game of the week segment. Prophet, I'm sorry to do this, man, but I'm going to skip I have to skip the Prophet's fantasy headquarters. We can't do it with the audio issues. We'll get the fantasy plays out over social media, and we're going to get this thing situated by next week. We'll get this thing figured out. I do apologize for the audio issues that we're having, but we're going to skip the Prophet's fantasy headquarters. We're going to go right into our Sling'n Proffet plays of the week. Okay, this was our plays of the week recap from last week. We had I went 1 for 3. Okay, I played a couple small games, a couple small plays. I had Duke. Duke was my only winner of the weekend. I had him 50 to win $96 or 96 points. So I won that there, but I kind of lost for the week. Prophet goes 1 for 3 with the Chargers. He went heavy on the Chargers and won that game, but we got out of turn a little bit here and got into some parlays and stuff like that. Prophet, not something that we usually do, but ultimately you're still winning money. You're up 100 because you won so much with the Chargers there. So I think you said to me we're going to kind of get back to the basics here, and you're going to get back to staying away from the parlays, because I know you said you were having some fun last week, but you always told the people that the money to be made is in the single bets and not so much the parlay bets.
Parlays, when you hit them, they're nice, but they're so hard to hit.
Yep.
It's hard enough to pick one winner, let alone 2, 3. But yeah, sometimes they're fun to play. I went for the jugular last week early, and it didn't happen.
All right.
You probably won't see another parlay for me the rest of the year.
Well, we're moving on to our plays of the week for this week. My plays start tomorrow night in college football. I got Texas State +1 over Arizona State. Texas State's got a nice quarterback that I really like. They start the season off 2-0. Arizona State, I believe, is 2-0. I think Texas State's gonna take this one outright. I'm laying 100 to win 191. All right. I'm taking the Colts -3 over the Packers. I just don't know what's going on with the Packers situation. I don't have a whole lot of confidence in Malik Willis at all. And I think, again, Anthony Richardson, call him what you want, but there's going to be a couple plays per game that he's going to make a big play. And I think it's going to be enough to get the win over the Packers. And I think they cover, and I think they cover pretty easily. I'm laying 100 to win 198. And then I always got to do, my touchdown scorer parlay. I got and I think this one's a pretty logical one. Excuse me 1 second. I think this one's a pretty logical one. I got Tyreek Hill, Lamar Jackson, and CeeDee Lamb anytime touchdown scores. Laying 50 will get you back 421. All right, so that's not a bad little lay there. Laying 50 to get you back 421. Excuse me. And well, the one game that I was going to play, I see Prophet picked, and I was going to go the opposite way with it. But Prophet, you got the Jets here -3 at Tennessee. You're going heavy. You're laying 248 to win 448.
Yeah. The Jets are going to. I'm looking for the Jets to bounce back this week. Tennessee's not good in home openers. 2-3 straight up, 1-4 against the spread. If you throw out Rodgers last year in Green Bay when he didn't want to be there, he hasn't lost back-to-back games since October of 2018. Okay, I don't
Prophet.
Start.
I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. I'm just gonna read through this, man, and we're gonna get through it, and we're gonna wrap it up, and we're gonna get into and we'll fix this for next week. Again, I apologize for the audio issues. You also have Baltimore -9 against the Raiders. This was the play that I was going to play against because I saw it at 8.5, and I like the Raiders actually in this one because I think that they're going to bounce back. Call me crazy for holding out hope for Gardner Minshew, but I didn't like what 8.5, 9 is a big number, and I had I was going to go with the Raiders, but I wasn't confident enough to put it up there. But you got them. You got Baltimore covering this one, laying pretty heavy, 216 to win 416, and then You got Evan Ingram as an anytime touchdown scorer, laying 100 to win 310. That's a pretty decent play there. Nice payout and nice return for somebody who is pretty, and I don't want to say likely, but has a pretty good chance of getting into the end zone there. So that's it. That's going to wrap it up for our plays of the week. Obviously, not ideal. We would like to get some more information out of Proffet. We would love to hear more from him, but such is life. Sometimes on live television, these things happen, and all I can do is say that we're going to correct it and get it back for next week. We got a lot of football this week to look forward to. Again, Proffet, we're going to get your pick. We're going to get your fantasy picks out. I'll put them out. You can send them over to me, and I'll put them out over social media. Your sits, your starts, and we're looking forward to being back at a regular broadcast next week with all that information. So,
Hey, Sling, just let everybody know that Baltimore also is my suicide.
Baltimore is Proffet's suicide pick. If you're following along, last week he had the Seahawks. They were able to take home the victory, so he is still alive in that. Hey, that'll wrap it up for this week of the Sling'n Proffet podcast. Again, join us live next week, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. We'll be back with all your favorite segments, and hopefully we get this thing figured out. And again, I apologize for some slight technical difficulties here at the end. Always appreciate you. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Sorry, guys. We love you.